Hi, you're listening to Adults Talking Anime Plus, a place where adults talk anime, video games, comics, and whatever else we want. I am your resident adult, Inga Draper, and today I have an amazing guest. His name is Matt Linton, and he is an actor, comedian, improviser, and an all-around pretty cool dude. Hey, Matt.
How are you, Inga? Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here, and you're very welcome. I didn't even check with you. Do you go by Matt Linton or is it
Matthew
Matt
Linton? I don't go by Matt. You can call me anything, really. My handle, can you see my handle on your screen?
I do, Matty Boy.
I typed in Matty Boy, but I go by anything, but typically Matt. Okay. Matt. Yeah.
Well, good. So I'm super excited. Obviously, this is a remote podcast due to the stay-at-home order.
Yes.
So, Matt.
Inga.
I know you. Thank you. I know you because we're on a musical improv team together.
Yes.
And we also went to UCB together.
And we did 2 classes together. We did 101 and 201, I think.
I think, yes.
No,
yes.
Or maybe it was just 201. I don't know. Our group was like,
I know.
But regardless, we were in at least 1 or 2 classes.
Yes, and we both attended the prestigious Upright Citizens Brigade for
improv. Which may be gone now. We'll see.
I know. Did you see that? Well, New York,
New York's done, but here we'll see.
We shall see. That's very, very interesting in improv news. But we're going to get to more improv and all of that fun stuff later. We are going to actually talk a little bit about what kind of cartoons and stuff did you watch as a child, or were you not big into it?
Well, as I mentioned before we started, I wasn't a big anime guy. I'll tell you that. Unfortunately, but when it came to cartoons, I do remember my earliest cartoon memories were definitely Scooby-Doo.
Okay.
I don't know what. There's probably distinctions within the community of what each would Family Guy, is that a cartoon?
It is a cartoon.
Okay. So,
yeah.
So I think we're on the same page then. So I definitely watched Scooby-Doo. I really liked that as a kid.
Yeah.
I watched a bunch of Cartoon Network, but I wasn't super into it. It was just what all other kids did.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think The Fairly Odd Parents, Codename Kids Next Door,
mm-hmm.
Ed, and Eddie.
Yeah.
The one Courage the Cowardly Dog. These are all things I remember as a kid, but vaguely.
Yeah.
And then I had a good stint with South Park when I was I don't know, elementary to middle school, when it was the craziest thing.
Yeah.
And Family Guy and stuff. Yeah.
So that's good. It's a little bit more Western, which is totally fine. I was also going to ask, did you ever dabble in?
There's one more.
But
I don't remember anything about it, but I remember loving it. I was really young. It was Samurai Jack.
Okay.
Is that Western or no?
I don't really know if that's. It's funny because I could see why you would want to say anime. I almost want to say that it is a Western, just because Western, Western comics or cartoons. There it is, Western cartoons. Hello, because I was gonna say a lot of people. I don't know. Did you dabble in Pokemon at all?
Briefly, yeah, briefly.
So Pokemon is actually an anime.
I do know that. Yeah. I played Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance. I played Yellow, Red. I can't remember the names, but Yellow.
No, those are the
Blue.
names.
No, but then there was Ruby, and then there were real names after that. But I played the OG ones originally.
Yeah, those are the best ones. No, they're all really good, actually. They keep getting better and better, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're in the right route. It doesn't matter that you don't necessarily live on the anime, but you're into you were into, or you're still into the video game side of it, which the more I do this podcast, we end up on a lot of video games. So
great, because that's what I'm
You're
all
not.
About. Yeah.
We are definitely going to get there, but we are going to play a game.
Q and anime. Q and anime. Q and anime. Q and anime.
Question 1, Deku or Bakugo?
Bakugo.
Beautiful. Question 2, can you name a Pokemon?
Oh, yeah, Pikachu, Charizard, Mewtwo.
Yes, all right. Number 3, Wizard King or Hokage?
Hokage. I don't know what it is, but it sounds cool.
I love it. And okay, question 4, Ninja or PewDiePie?
Oh, you tricked me there. PewDiePie.
All right, PewDiePie. And then number 5, if you had one catchphrase, what would it be?
Ooh, um, catch me outside. How about that? I knew it had
Okay.
to, I don't know if that would be it, but I had to answer quickly, so that's what I came up with.
No, I love it. I could have given you an example, but that was
No,
perfect.
no,
I would
no.
love it if you were an anime character that just yelled, "Catch me outside." How about that? That's really fun. So
Wait, was
there's
that
it.
it?
Yeah, you did it. You nailed Q and anime.
Q and anime. Q and anime. Q and anime. Q and anime.
Wait, what do they? Do I get to know what they mean, or is
Oh,
it better if I don't?
sure. Of course. Okay.
I know 3 of them.
Okay, which 3 did you well, the
I didn't
Pokemon,
know Hokaigu.
the
Hokaigu.
Hokage? Okay,
Hokaiga.
so I
Yeah.
don't know if you know Naruto at all.
A little bit. Oh, yeah. They
So
run.
Naruto
They run. They do the Naruto run,
Oh,
right?
yes, exactly. So, basically, Naruto wants to be something called the Hokage, which is just the leader of the village. And then the Wizard
Oh, okay.
King is basically it's another anime called, Black Clover, and they wanna be the Wizard King. So, basically,
Oh,
it was
okay.
just
Just like
kind
the
of like,
goal.
who would you rather be? Yeah, was the Wizard King or Hokage? You answered Hokage, which people are gonna love.
Do I know your
Uh,
answers? What do you get? Would you
for
prefer
me
Wizard King or Hokage?
You know, that's so crazy, but, a couple episodes ago, I had an episode called "Everyone Wants to be the Hokage." So
Oh,
mine is so it's basically it kind of is the Hokage, even though I love an anime called Fairy Tail, and it has nothing to do with being a wizard king, but because of magic, it's a real
yeah.
toss-up, but I think in the end, you gotta pick Hokage.
And then the first one, Dokaigu or something?
Deku or Bakugo. So they're 2 characters from a very popular anime currently called My Hero Academia,
Yeah,
which
yeah, that's your favorite one, right?
that's the one you see me cosplaying all the
Yes,
time.
yes.
And so, honestly, that's a very hard one for me to even pick. I'd maybe say Deku, but I don't know. I love Bakugo too. So I'm
Yeah,
glad I wasn't really asked the question.
fair enough.
So I really didn't have to answer it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That one's tough. And then was there anything else? I think you knew
No,
everything
but you
else.
tricked me. When you said ninja, I thought you were about to ask me like the actual ninja or like a knight or something. And
Uh-huh.
then it was ninja the streamer.
The streamer
Fortnite.
or
Yeah.
I just that was a toss up.
Yeah.
I just figured I knew you were doing a ninja dance at one point, so for your skit.
Yes. Yes. I forgot about ninja. Yeah,
So
that
I
guy kind of
figured
faded though. From the limelight as far as I know.
I mean, yes and no. He's still huge on Mixer making his millions. So,
Really?
yeah.
Nice.
So while he may have faded from doing the floss on New Year's Eve and nobody else
Oh,
doing
that was
it,
bad. That was
yeah, it
bad.
was that's embarrassing, slightly
Yeah.
embarrassing. But I mean, hey man, he made that money.
Yeah, you did.
So
You did.
live
That's for sure.
your life. All right. So we're gonna jump into some of your games,
Cool.
or just games in general. But when you sent this to me, because I asked some prelim questions, and you talked about World of Warcraft. I
Yeah.
want to know, I got several questions
Okay.
about it. When was the first time you played World of Warcraft?
It was 2000 like 9 or
Okay,
8.
so were you young though?
I
Was
was
it
yeah,
some
I think it was 7th grade when I
okay.
first played it. Yeah.
So it's like
I
what,
first saw it my
14?
6th grade and I first played it the following year. I distinctly remember.
And did you play it a lot?
No. So I because the game requires unlike other games that I had. I've been a big gamer since I was like, could remember. But
Mhm.
every game I had was always like, for Christmas or my birthday, I would be given a game and you would
Yeah.
like my mom, for instance, if she got me a game, you'd pay for it once. What my mom was unwilling to do would be to put down a credit card to pay indefinitely. So like
Uh-huh.
World of Warcraft was a hard no. So
Yeah.
the first couple times, like I played WoW several different times, but
Yeah.
I only played for several weeks at a time because I would just make a new free trial as a kid. I wouldn't
I
have a
love
credit card
that.
and I would play as far as I could go and then it would
Yeah.
eventually expire and then I just start over.
I mean, first of all, that's real smart of you as a kid to be
Yes.
like, "All right, here's the thing. I gotta
Yeah.
play this game. I'm just gonna keep creating email accounts."
That's pretty much what it was. Which is sad because like those characters still exist. I realize they don't delete the characters.
Yeah.
So you can like some people now have actually made a killing going back online like a decade ago, finding out their old characters, and there's some memorabilia and things that don't exist anymore
Oh,
that
wow.
that sell for like thousands of dollars. So
That's
yeah,
wild.
yeah. So people have like made money just like going back to their old accounts. Not that that would be a thing I do, but they still exist. So I have like
Yeah.
20 characters from my childhood that are just never going to be accessed again.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, then on that, on that route, what were your characters? Since you don't have just one,
Yeah.
or what was your favorite one?
It's hard for me to remember, but I remember one of the ones that I like actually got into later in high school. A couple years later, I played for like a month or two,
Mhm.
like aggressively, and I played I want to say a dwarf warrior or a dwarf
Mhm.
paladin. I think I made both. I can't remember which one I took really far, but I
Sure.
liked them. And
Is that
then
kind of your class, the dwarf
yeah,
class, or like?
yeah, so dwarf is the race, then the
Yeah.
class
Sorry. Excuse me.
is the no, it's okay. Then class was warrior or
Okay.
paladin. I like those. I think it's mainly just because like it was the first thing I chose, and like that's just
Hmm.
what it was. I didn't like having to wait for mana to recharge and drinking potions and water. So I
Yeah.
like that, paladin and well, warrior especially, you don't use mana. So,
Okay.
so yeah.
I
Well,
love
I
it.
guess paladins do use mana, just not as much.
Okay. All right. So you also said that you just picked it up a little bit again during the
Oh god, yeah.
quarantine. So
Yes.
how is that going?
My one buddy's just been playing for years, and
Yeah.
he always nags me to play, and I'm always like, no, I'm too busy. And I game now still, but like I'll play a game, and when it's done, I just won't touch my Xbox for like a couple weeks or a month, and then another game will come in.
Responsibly.
Yeah, it's great, but then quarantine happened, and I finally was like, all right, fine. So I went back to they relaunched WoW. I'm not sure if you're familiar. So over
Mhm.
the years, it started in 2005, 2006, and then
Sure.
they had expansions every couple years.
Yeah.
So genius marketing. They relaunched the original game, just
Mhm.
improved. So it's way harder, way more bare bones than anything, and people have been playing that for the past year. So I got back into that during
Yeah.
quarantine, and it was bad. It was really bad. It was like the best time of my life. It was bad. On last Friday, my subscription expired,
Yeah.
and I knew I had to stop because I was playing like all day. Like
That's
when
so
I was done with
funny.
work, I'd play for like 4 hours. Um, and so to make sure I wouldn't renew my subscription, this past Friday, I gave away all my gold, sold all my gear, and gave away like everything I've earned in the game and let my
Yeah.
account expire. So if I ever like renew it, it'd be so difficult to like get back into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'd be miserable.
Wow. You are an adult. Look at you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess my other question is this then. So I was doing a little research on it because
Yeah.
World of Warcraft was just not something I ever really got into. I'm not entirely sure why. It could have been the whole games you have to continually pay for. My parents were
Yeah.
definitely on that
Yeah.
same kind of track when I was younger. My brother got into like when he got his Xbox, somehow he ended up with an Xbox Live,
Yeah.
subscription. He's just living his best life, yelling at little kids when he was a little kid or
Yeah.
getting called names. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah.
But for me, it was kind of the same boat. Like you get that PC game and then that's kind of it. Or so I played The Sims a lot. That was my
Sims
big,
is a great game.
very
Great game.
big guilty play. Well, I also had at some point just stopped playing because my Sim had a much better life than I did.
Yeah.
It was depressing.
Yeah. You're like,
Gotta
let's
get back
trade.
on. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh man, my Sim's doing it all. But did you play? I think I read something that said normal or role player mode.
Oh, I don't actually know what that's referencing, but
Mhm.
there is maybe that's a thing that I'm unfamiliar with that happened when I like didn't play. And I'm no expert.
Sure.
The game is like you have to be an expert, you have to log thousands of hours. But
Yeah, it
yeah,
seems
it's
too
like
daunting to
yeah.
start now.
But maybe PvE versus PvP, maybe that's
Yes,
what
that's what they're kind of
yeah.
talking about.
So just to clarify the difference for anyone listening or you, I'm not sure, is
Both.
PvE is PvE is just player versus environment, and
Mhm.
PvP is player versus player. And all that means is that player versus environment means if I don't want to fight any other players in the game, I don't have
Mhm.
to. Like I have to manually turn that on and choose to fight you.
Gotcha.
And the benefit of that, I like that version. The benefit of that is you can just quest and play the game as you want to, and
Mm-hmm.
no one's gonna just like be 100 levels above you, come in and murder you.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
the
that's
down,
good.
yeah, it's good. But some people don't like that because it adds an element of like you always have to be vigilant and you have to
Mm-hmm.
work in teams and whatnot. But I like to play games like I like playing with other people,
Yeah.
but often just like due to time constraints or zones, I'm playing alone.
Yeah.
So I much prefer PvE. When I just got back on, I was on a PvP server, and there would be nights where you're like just trying to do one thing, and like
Yeah.
some guy would just murder you relentlessly, and you can't do anything about it. So that's
That
really good.
sucks. I hate that's also the other reason I don't really love those kind of like strategy-based games. Or
Yeah,
especially when it's an online scenario. Like I like to build it takes me a while to build up a village or to build up a character or something like that.
yeah,
And then I just hate when you're getting raided. And you're
yes,
just it's like you just get out of that buffer zone. I don't know, some games would do it up to like level 7 or a certain amount of hours
yeah.
where you would be in this buffer
Is
zone,
that
but
Clash of
then
Clans that you're thinking of? Isn't
uh
Clash of Clans rated? I
yes,
don't.
Clash
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
Titans. Yeah,
Clash of
yeah,
Titans.
yeah.
All of
Well,
those clash
the
of.
exactly. I always will start those games and then I get pissed because like I'll be not on the game and somebody has raided my town or
Yeah,
village or
and then you got to
whatever.
go back in. That's how they keep you in it.
Come back and everything's on fire and you're just like
Yeah.
it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
Um but okay, so let's talk a little bit about just some of the your okay, let's rank your favorite games like gaming
Oh.
system, gaming
Okay.
content.
Gaming. Yeah. It's really tough because like my ranking, I don't know, there's two different ranks. If I were to rank them like the gaming systems in terms of like how good I think they are,
Yeah.
it's different than my favorite gaming systems, and that's just like just because of how I've grown up. So
I
like
want to hear the second one. I
okay,
want
all
based on
time,
you.
yeah, definitely it's Xbox number 1 just cuz
Okay.
that's just the first. I had a PlayStation
Mhm.
and I had a PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, and I got a PlayStation 4 Pro relatively recently.
Yeah,
I've had an Xbox 360, and an Xbox One.
sure.
I have a Switch. Okay.
Oh, I love it. I
Yeah,
love the
Switch is
Switch. I'm
great.
obsessed with it.
Yeah, and then I did some PC gaming,
Mhm.
but like I've just played WoW obviously on the PC, but other than that, not big into it.
Yeah.
However, I do think PC gaming is by far the most superior form of gaming.
Yeah.
Like it's just so much better if you have an actual setup. But definitely for me, like I just played the most throughout my life on Xbox.
Yeah.
Then it'd be PlayStation, then Switch and computer or PC would probably be neck and neck.
Yeah. All
And
right.
then I mean, there's other devices too. Like I could go into like Game Boy and PlayStation Portable. I'm trying to think of
Yeah.
some other
The
ones I
P
had, but those were like when I was really young. But like
Mhm.
those are all time things. I still have my Game Boys somewhere. Need to
That's
find them.
a lot of people
Yeah,
it's weird. People be like, "Yeah, I definitely still have my Game Boy." Apparently, check
yeah,
into it. Sometimes they're worth money. I found my
yeah.
PSP the other day, and I was like,
Oh,
"Dang, this
really?
thing
Do
was cool." Yeah,
you have any games on it?
I actually had yeah, The Sims, and I
Nice.
had, 2 movies. I had Office Space
Okay.
and and, like, Toy Story 2. And I also had, Final Fantasy, oh my gosh, which one was it? I can't everybody else will know, and they're gonna be mad at me because I talk about Final Fantasy all the time, but it's the
Yeah.
one with Zach, and it's a basis it's, like a spin-off of Final Fantasy 7. I just cannot think of the name of it on the top of my head, and I'm sure somebody will tell me in the comments eventually.
It's a Final Fantasy 7. Yeah, I don't know.
It was it'll say a spin-off. If you type, like, Final Fantasy 7 Zach for PSP, I'm sure the name will pop right up.
Mm, mm.
But it was
Crisis Core? What is that?
yes,
Yeah.
that's what it was. It was Crisis Core. Oh, such a good game. Super
Really?
sad,
I've never
so
played,
good.
Final Fantasy, but everyone loves it. Everyone who
Oh my
played it loves it.
gosh. Well, so I was looking over some of the games that you sent me where
Yeah.
and I'll just tell everybody else what you sent. You sent like World of Warcraft, you sent Red Dead Redemption, Red Dead Redemption 2, Rome Total War, Call of Duty, PUBG. Those were just some of the games that you actually listened. So based off of those games, it kind of seems like you really like strategic and or I mean, I guess sort of like an online, not like gun-based game, but like shooting games maybe seems to be your jam.
Yeah, shooting games for sure is like a theme for a lot of my games, I would say. Like anything that involves like combat.
Mm-hmm.
But like while I've dabbled in like first person shooters and like I played COD for years, I don't anymore, but like I used to play, that PUBG
Mm-hmm.
is third person and first person. Like
I've
I've
played
played
PUBG. I'm terrible at it. But
it's an incredibly difficult game, but because of it, it's like one of the most rewarding like payoffs of any game you can play. I
here's
haven't
my
played in
thing.
years. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
got I got I was in like 10th, all because I just hid. I was able to
Yes,
hide long enough to
but you
not
didn't
get
win, did
killed.
you? Did you
No,
did
I
you
didn't
win?
win.
Yeah. Because until you practice being out in the open, it's very difficult. But you
Oh,
can sometimes you'd actually we had a tactic. We wanted to see my one buddy had never played and he was
yeah.
interested. We had a tactic years ago when we were really into this game. I actually lived in a house with 14 people, like in real life, okay?
Oh my
My
gosh.
my senior year of college. We all lived in this
Okay.
big house, okay, with a ton of rooms. So we would often play PUBG. We do a 4-man squad in
Yeah.
4 different rooms in the house. So we
Mhm.
would just be like yelling, like not even over the mic, just like guy 360 north, like that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And anyways, one of my buddies wanted to play but was terrible. And so what we did was we were like, how well can we do with him on our team? And what we determined is we can do incredibly well. We every time he would play in our group, we'd just have him hide. We go, and you know how the circle shrinks.
Yes.
Anytime the circle would shrink, we'd instruct him to run to the center of the circle and
Yeah.
hide as best he can. He wouldn't even pick up gear at the beginning of the game. He'd pick up
That's
like if he picked up any gear or guns, he would
uh-huh.
drop it. He would drop it at our feet and then run away. And it worked wonders because he would just last so long, even if we died, he'd just keep going into the middle of the circle.
Oh my god,
And
it's so terrifying, but what a fun way to play.
it was a fun tactic. But yeah, first person shooters loved, but the all-time games are like I think it's tough. Like RPGs, my all-time like ranking of like if someone's like what are the best games you've ever played?
Yes.
It's different from your Desert Island game. Like a Desert Island game for me would be like a game that's so expansive like World of Warcraft you could just keep playing it forever.
Yeah.
But like my all-time best games are like story-driven RPGs like just wonderfully narrative games.
And
Like
you've
Red Dead
never played
Redemption.
a Final Fantasy game.
Never. I know it's sad. I need to, but there's like 1,000. I need to get into some.
Okay, I have to hear. What's your RPG? What were you playing?
I played like everything, but
But
like
how did you miss the biggest and the best RPG ever made?
it all depends on what your friends are playing when you're growing up. Like
Yes,
that's all it matters.
true.
Because I couldn't tell you my friends who played Final Fantasy, but I do remember moments when I was younger when I'd be discussing games and like I knew my shit. Can I swear in here?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're fine.
Okay.
It's allowed. It is allowed.
No, but I knew my stuff, and then someone would like talk about Final Fantasy, or I'm trying to think of some other big games that I like, Doom, stuff that I like knew was good, but I just never played it. And
Like
I was
Devil
wow.
May Cry.
Yeah.
Trials of Mana. I don't know. I think that's a Nintendo thing. It just came back out for the Switch. I never played it either, but
like Zelda, I didn't actually play. I never had a Nintendo. I never had GameCube. I never had anything. I didn't know anything about any of those games until I got a Switch a couple years ago, and I played Breath of the Wild, which is another all-time game. Like that's one of my top 10 games, and I knew nothing.
That's crazy. So wait, so you never played like Mario Brothers?
No.
Whoa.
No. Like I dabbled as a kid in like, the occasional Mario Kart or Smash.
Mm-hmm.
But I only recently got even remotely good at Smash. And like not good, just like capable of fighting someone.
Yeah, for sure. That's super wild. But you know what? I want to hear your game ranking. Go ahead and give me, I think you just said you could do 10, huh?
I don't know. It's different. I guess I'll give you this, but you can't like lock it in.
All right, guys, don't lock it in.
Red Dead Redemption 2. People are gonna hate on my list, but I have reason behind
let them hate it.
Okay. The Last of Us.
Okay. Oh,
so those are two basically just stories that are like a 10-hour, 15-hour playthrough that you just watch, and I'm like, fine. This isn't necessarily in order. But this is okay. World of Warcraft has to be on there because it's just a nonstop game. You can just keep playing forever.
Mm-hmm.
You got to put Breath of the Wild on there. That's a phenomenal game. I would put Smash on there, but it just hasn't had, because it's all time, but it hasn't been that impactful on me.
Yeah.
Like it's just one, like everyone knows it, but
Mm-hmm.
at least to represent Nintendo, I have Zelda.
I said I'm hosted by Nintendo.
Oh, really?
They support the podcast.
Hey,
So.
soon we got to get them. We got to get them up here. Put that in
Believe me.
behind your head.
I'm
Yeah.
trying.
Okay. I probably won't do 10 right now. Rome Total War was one of the games. Oh, Grand Theft Auto. You can't miss Grand Theft Auto. Big
That's
Rockstar
true.
guy. Fallout.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Fallout. New Vegas specifically, but I actually really liked 4 as well. And then there's a couple more, but I'm gonna take forever. So
I love it. No, those were great. Those are great. I knew a few of the games. I personally can just never really like. I'm terrible at first person shooters,
Fair enough.
so I just can't play them. I was always a PlayStation girl growing up.
Nice,
Well, like
yeah.
a Nintendo, and like I did Nintendo, Sega, Super Nintendo, blah blah blah. But then like it hit the PlayStation, and then I that's sort of where I stuck. And then we've had both in my house because my brother loved the Xbox, but for me, it's the controllers. I don't know. I just always feel like the Xbox controllers are big,
Really?
and
Okay.
yeah, they just feel real. I have small hands though too, but they just feel really big. But also, I think it's one of those things. It's whatever you kind of played first, you sort of become really loyal to. So from that point on, it was like PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4. But also, I'm obsessed with Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
And Final
Is
Fantasy
Final
7.
Fantasy across, could you play it on any platform?
No, they started, I want to say, not originally, and for the most part, PlayStation still holds a lockdown on the Final Fantasy games. But I know that later this year they're going to release. So they just remade Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah.
And they are going to. The contract ends later this year, I want to say. So it is going to open up to the PC and I think the Xbox. I'm not 100% on that, but like they've been dying to like try to expand. But that was a big thing, like a big push with the PlayStation too, was
You're right. I'm
keeping
looking at
Square Enix. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I didn't realize how. I remember it was not across things, but it's saying most of them were basically like just PlayStation. Yeah, like no X. It looks like some are I recently, but recently some other ones, but not until like 2019. That's cool.
Exactly. So yeah, they really kept it locked down, and that was probably another thing. I was so into that RPG, it really kept me.
Yeah.
It kept me very loyal. But again, you it sounds like also when you were gaming, like you were kind of 7 had already happened, and I'm gonna say it, 7 and 8 are probably the best Final Fantasies to ever exist. But then like the other ones were on different platforms too, like they really weren't on PlayStation. I want to say like regular like Final Fantasy Tactics and stuff was on Game Boy or something like that. And then the games, there's good. Like you have different versions, like 10's amazing too, but then like 15, they spent so much time and money and whatever. I'll probably get hate for this. Not great. Didn't love, couldn't fully, I couldn't commit the 180 hours it actually takes to beat this game on the game. I mean, it's beautifully done. It's beautifully done. The music's incredible. The gameplay's fine, but yeah, you're literally going through like 20-minute movies. Just when when you're like, I guess I'll stop playing.
First off, I forgot perhaps the biggest RPG I played, Skyrim of all time.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how I could forget that. That was like top 5 as well. But what you reminded me of, just like the watching movies, is I recently like got into Hideo Kojima games. I don't know if you're familiar, but he's like the Metal Gear Solid guy, formerly at Konami. He made all the Metal Gear Solids, and then he did just this year he did Death Stranding.
Yes, everybody was talking about that.
Yeah, and I only recently started playing Metal Gear Solid, and recently being the past couple years, and like some of his work, it's just like it's the same thing where you're like, this is really good, but I'm watching a movie. And like you can skip, and you could just skip for like a minute, and it'll skip like you could go for like a minute real time, which would be like 15 minutes of footage. Just like,
wow. You're like, whoa. At one point, you're like, I know you guys are showing off, and it's cool, but like, what? That was happening. That was the one thing that was happening in Final Fantasy VII, the remake. You'd be in the middle of a battle, and all of a sudden there would be like a summon scene, and the scene takes like 3 minutes. You're like, I need to heal myself. And you can't do anything but, wait for the movie to end before you can make any moves. But that's very funny. Okay, so we're going to switch gears a little bit, but we can always come back to the games. Did you ever watch Adult Swim?
Yeah, I did. That was like Robot Chicken.
Yes. And then as it got later, they actually did bump into some anime, like Cowboy Bebop. Are you familiar with at all?
I'm familiar, but I never watched it.
Interesting.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
remember seeing the ads when I was young. I was like, I'm going to bed.
You're like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I just had a thing called possible conversion animes that if you were to give anime a
Okay.
chance, these would be
Yeah.
some of the ones you might want to watch.
Cool.
One of them being Cowboy Bebop, Ghost in the Shell. I don't know if you've watched Death Note. That can be found on Netflix and in English.
Wait, which one's Death Note? Is that the one where it follows you everywhere? The dead thing follows you everywhere? No, that's It Follows.
Oh, wait, I was like, well, no, there is
what's Death Note? What's Death Note?
Well, okay, so there's two things. Don't watch the live action, which is something that if you have Netflix, they may have tried to push on you at any point in time. Oh, it's so bad. Please don't watch that. If you did, I'm sorry, because it's really terrible.
Yeah.
The anime is 1,000 times better, except for up to a point. Like there's a point where you could actually just stop watching it because they sort of ruined it. But overall, it's actually a very good anime. Another one would be Neon Genesis Evangelion and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. A lot of these can be found on Netflix and Hulu. If you were ever interested, I would say dabble in those. But I guess I should ask you, what do you actually watch? Do you watch mysteries? Do you watch just comedies? And the other genres?
That's a good question. It's weird because like you and I do a lot of comedy.
Yeah.
But like I don't watch that much.
Wow.
I think it's probably because my brain is so like fried when I watch it. It's like I just Inga and I just did 2 hours of improv. Like I can't watch any more stupid jokes.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. Like I do watch comedies, but it's never recurring. Like I love The Office. It's so cliche, but
I love The Office.
Everyone does, but it's like probably my all-time comedy show. I loved it. And like I've watched Parks and Rec. I watched a little Community recently. South Park, Family Guy, these stuffs, but like I don't actively watch them. And to be honest, like as great as they are, other than a select few comedies, I don't watch. Like I typically watch just like more dramas and stuff. Like I'm trying to think. Recently, I'm a big Ozark guy. Watched Ozark, was great. Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
Anything on HBO too. If anything's on HBO, I love it.
Yeah.
Any television series. It is. I think they make great stuff. But like strangely enough, HBO, one of their big comedies, Silicon Valley, like I've seen it. I'm from Silicon Valley. I should like it more. And I really haven't like dabbled in it that much.
That's so funny. Did you watch Barry?
Yes, I did watch Barry, which is excellent. I watched
Barry's
it all in
super
one
good.
go right as the most recent season came out like last summer.
Yeah. That's
excellent.
Super good.
Yeah.
I was just curious about your taste, and that is funny. I mean, I kind of feel you on the if you do something enough or you work in a certain industry. Like I know I used to bartend.
Oh yeah, R.I.P. I'm sorry.
I know, sorry, whoopsie. But for me personally, the last place I really want to go is a bar. Just from working at a bar and being at a bar all the time. And I kind of feel that way with certain things too. I go through phases. I watch
other than anime.
I know I've been watching a lot of anime recently just because there's so much of it. But even when I have to take a break, I am a lot of like I don't know, I'm a comfort watcher. I like to watch things sometimes when I don't need it to have a big plot or be very dramatic.
Gotcha. Okay.
So sometimes for me it is comedy just because I don't know, the stakes can be a little bit lower or it's a little bit more predictable. Like The Office is very mellow. Yeah. The Office is pretty mellow, even though I do like, if I'm in the mood, I'll do a lot of like suspense thrillers. When I was younger, I was obsessed with Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and Xena the Warrior Princess and Hercules. Like I really do like fantasy. Like I really got into I got into Game of Thrones like right before the last season, which I was upset about because I thought I was on the last season. I thought I was like, I'm so smart. I'm gonna binge watch Game of Thrones, and
you're like,
then,
it was all a waste.
Oh my God. I know. I was super disappointed and did not understand what was actually happening. But just because there were so many things, like that one episode that was completely shot in the dark.
Yeah, what the hell? It was like geared up to be the coolest thing ever. And you're like, what's going on? What's wrong?
The cinematographer goes, if you were in real battle, this is what it would look like. I'm like, nah, man. You'd at least be able to see what you were fighting. At one point, I thought everybody was dead.
Dude, the whole light a torch and charge into the darkness.
Yeah, it was insane. All of
What?
it. And then
How is that
especially
attack?
the finally killing the dude, the White Walker King. I don't know, I
Yeah.
don't remember his name, but
I don't think they gave him one.
was he just the king of the White Walkers?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool.
We learned nothing about him.
Well, that he was a big threatening force, and then all of a sudden his battle was so fast. I'm like, who did this? Why 4 years leading up to this part of it? Not even. I don't know how long it was going on.
7
7,
years.
10 years, 7?
7 years leading up to that.
So insane. Yeah, that was definitely a big disappointment. Do you watch Westworld at all?
I do. I haven't started the new season.
I haven't either.
I do. I have my critiques of the show. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
When the first one, that's an HBO show.
Yeah, it is.
When the first season came out, I was like, this is mind-blowing and incredible,
Mhm.
and I love it. And
Yes.
I binged it all in one go. It was awesome. The second season I still enjoyed, but it felt like it was trying to replicate the cleverness of the first season,
Yeah.
in my opinion, without as much rationale. It almost was like the first season you were like, boom, Inception or Memento mind fuck. And
Yes.
then the second season was just like someone trying to do that, but it wasn't as crisp. It was still good, but
Yeah.
it's not like an all-time show for me right now.
Yeah. It's one of those, like, I guess I got some time to kill, and
It's
I'll.
a fun premise. I would love to go into a world like that and just
Yes, that part's so. I mean, that part is pretty wild, and especially
Yeah.
like how real they're real people, but how
Yeah.
real the robots are, or whatever they're calling them, is a very interesting idea. Years ago, just a weird tangent, I went to this thing called Next Fest, which is all of the developing like technology and where. I don't know where we're going, because this is really years ago, because I went when they were debuting this thing called Space Plane.
Oh, okay.
And it was by, I want to say, Richard Branson. It was Virgin was developing this thing called the Space Plane. And you can Google this because this is real. It was going to be something where you can take off from New York, you shoot into space, and you'd be in Australia in like
Oh,
14
yeah.
minutes.
Wait, because you go up, the Earth spins, and you come down.
I guess. I mean,
I think that's what it was.
I don't know the real science behind it,
No,
but
because the Earth's, so if you come up right here,
yeah.
okay, and this is the Earth. I remember hearing about this. You would go
Mhm.
up, but the Earth would continue rotating.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you would just go down.
And then boom, you're in Australia in like 14 minutes. So I thought this thing was insane. They also had
Or it just goes really fast, and I'm totally wrong.
light years. I don't know. The way it seemed to be explained was something like up and then down.
Yeah.
And so I thought like this thing was really insane. This is also when they first started talking about like our RDFI or RIF. No, it's RIFD. I think it's RIFD.
RFID. Okay,
RFID.
yeah. RFID, yeah.
Exactly. You got it. But that's where they really started to introduce that too, even though now that's everywhere. And they had these bartenders that looked like real people, which were robots. Yeah, really scary. And they were pouring you drinks, and they would also have like very minimal conversation with you. So it was more so like somebody was listening while you're just kind of talking. So,
Did you test them?
No. At the time, well, then I was living in New York. I was super big into musical theater, and I wasn't really doing I wasn't doing a ton of bartending then. So I was just like, oh no. I'm like, uh-oh. Because I go, no, bartending's one of those things you're not going to lose people on, but who knows? I guess we all just go to our fridge and grab our own drinks now. So.
Yeah. That's crazy. Are you bummed that you can't go to these festivals right now?
Oh, I'm so bummed.
Because you go to a lot, probably what, 1 or 2 a month?
Well, I was actually about to. So basically, this was con season, is what we like to call it, because in January alone, there was 2 conventions. Like, well, it was basically every other weekend. So 2 out of the 4 weekends in January, there was a convention. And then in February, it was actually like 2 or 3, because you had the Renaissance Fair, and then like another 2 conventions. So there was like a span of time where you had at least 1 convention a month up until July. So
Wow.
I'm definitely bummed. I've either been refunded, or I have a bunch of like next year's super busy. I got lots to do next year.
Wait, was that stuff that's already planned, or they were like, hey, we're just going to stack next year now that everything's canceled?
Well, they were like, hey, we're canceling your ticket, but we're not going to give you your money back unless you really want it. So you got tickets for next year. Yeah, so it's really funny. My calendar starting in March is actually pretty full,
Yeah,
but it's just all stuff that they just bumped and pushed. So it definitely is a bummer. A
starting
lot
in
of
March. Wow, that's a long. I mean, it's not really time's flying right now, but
sure.
that's like wow, that's like almost a year.
I know. It is crazy. I'm like, it's cool that I have plans from a year
Yeah.
from now, but it's also insane to know that most likely, like, so LA Comic Con this year, it was supposed to be mid-September, but it's definitely getting canceled. Yeah, because California is doing no
Event.
conventions, no
Yeah.
big events, concerts, conventions, anything. I think it's over 200 people
Yeah.
until they find a cure or
Yeah.
we're all immune. I don't know.
If it makes you feel better, I'm a season ticket holder to the Clippers basketball. We
Yeah.
won't talk too much about it. I know it's
I know I know
irrelevant.
I know
Yeah.
basketball.
No, but I know that's your fan base is probably not like we need to hear more about that.
They love a good
But
sports anime.
but the playoffs, imagine like the Clippers this year were on track to either win
Yeah,
the NBA finals, the biggest thing there is,
yeah.
or get very close.
Mhm.
And this is my first year being a season ticket holder.
Oh,
All of that's
geez.
gone. Or if somehow it comes back,
Yeah.
fans won't be allowed. And I've
Mhm.
already paid for next year's season tickets.
Oh,
So
no.
who knows if we're going to be even allowed to go.
Oh, gosh. I mean, we'll see. Who knows? We'll absolutely have to
Yeah.
see. I was stalking your Instagram, and I happened to
Right.
see a picture of you and Miss Kristen Bell,
Yes,
and I think I read the caption was that you were in a commercial with Kristen Bell.
I
Tell me
was.
about it. We have to talk about it. We all love Kristen Bell.
As I said in my Instagram caption, that was the moment I peaked for
Oh.
sure in life. I don't think I'm ever going to get there again. It was it was when I first. So I've been doing comedy for years, but
Mhm.
like not seriously. Like I just started in college, and like it was always kind of a hobby. And then
Yeah.
as I was about to graduate, I was like, oh man, like I gotta at least like see if I can do anything with this, like
Yeah.
acting or whatever. And I just got so lucky over the course of roughly a month.
Mhm.
This sounds so braggy, but it was literally just a chain of like lucky events.
Sure.
I like did a show that got me this tiny little commercial rep,
Yeah.
which I was like, this is the easiest thing in the world at the time. And now I'm like, oh my God, I should be so grateful. Um, I thought, and then so I got a rep like a week after the show. And then after that, I got my very first audition ever right away. I have no idea what I'm doing. Okay,
Mhm.
I've known this rep for like 2 days. I happened to go out on a commercial really quickly because I guess if a commercial rep sees you, they'll just submit you for a bunch of stuff when they first sign you to
Yeah.
see like what you look good for. It's whatever.
Mhm.
And I guess there was just this little commercial. They were like looking for people who can drum. I used to play the drums, not
Mhm.
well even, like badly. And it was just this little audition. I went in. It was just some dude in a room with a camera, and I was like, "This is so weird." And I was like, "This is the easiest thing ever. You just go in." And I acted so dumb, and I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
And then, anyways, like the next day, they're like, "Okay, you got to come in for a call back. Your first thing was okay, but like, let's see it." And I did the exact same thing. Again, I have no idea what I'm doing. But all I remember was in that callback, I'm going on because it's the highlight of my life. There was a guy in the room that
Yeah.
laughed really loud when I said something, and it was
Mhm.
so dumb. I don't even know what I said. But then at the end, he laughs really loud. Later, I learned that was the director of the commercial.
Yeah.
I had no idea what this was for. And then, like a couple days after that, they were like, "Hey, you got this gig. Come, here's the call sheet in a week or whatever. It's going to be with Kristen Bell." And I was like, "What?" And then I went,
That's
and it was just one day. She did like 4 spots, and then I was the last spot of the day, and it was just me and
Yeah.
her. And it was just the coolest thing. It was mainly like 1,000 people like helping her do stuff, and
Yeah.
then I was just like there. You saw my little costume. I was in a drummer costume,
Yeah.
and it was kind of a disaster, but also hilarious because to make the drum that I'm using and the whole thing fit in the frame,
Yeah.
they had to rig the drum, so it was kind of hard to drum.
Yeah.
And I'm not a trained marching band drummer.
Oh god.
So as we're filming the commercial with Kristen Bell, okay,
Yes.
I'm drumming, action, drum, drum. We do our little thing. We actually talked a little bit in the commercial. They cut it down to just a couple words.
Yeah.
The drum just kept falling off and like smacking the ground. And they just, hey, redo this.
Oh,
And you could tell everyone was like, this guy, what the fuck is this guy doing? But it wasn't my fault.
yeah.
Anyways, you saw the commercial. It was the highlight of my life. Haven't done anything that cool since.
Oh man, that's still amazing, and it's an experience that only you can talk about and say you had.
It's definitely fun.
That's so cool. All right, let's talk a little bit more about. Let's get down with some improv. Let's get down with some comedy. What do you got going? I mean, I know we're in a quarantine. Sorry, I hope that's not too invasive. But what do you got going on? What do you have planned? Are you working on your own projects?
I guess the short answer is not much. That's like relative to how much both you and I am sure we're doing pre-COVID, it's like almost negative. It's like really low. I mean, because you and I were both doing 1,000 classes before, and those classes would generally lead to like events and different stuff. And we were each on a bunch of teams. Obviously, Eyes Up was performing regularly. I was on a handful of teams. None of that is going on right now, obviously. And it was a bummer because Shoot the Moon, which is one of my musical groups that you're probably familiar with, we had just got a run too at Sunset, which was so cool. And at least we got to do 1 or 2 shows. I was really bummed. Right now, literally, I decided to take like a month. This was the classic WoW month where I was like, I'm just going to like take a break because I'm not going to travel anywhere. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to take a mental break from it all. And then I'll come back. So I'm like just coming back the past couple weeks. I've been writing a bunch of sketch and filming some of these stupid videos you've seen on Instagram that are fun. But it's like, I don't know. We'll see. To be honest, there's not much going on.
It's true. Yeah.
I don't know. How about you?
It's I mean, same old. I don't know. Apparently I've rediscovered TikTok. I guess I'll become a TikTok influencer. No, I'm kidding.
You should. You should.
Just this old ass lady on TikTok. I've been doing a little bit of Twitch streaming. I'm trying to get into it a little bit more because I've been spending a lot of time playing Animal Crossing. I don't know why anybody introduced me to this game, but I'm freaking obsessed with it. It basically, at first I was like, nah, this game's kind of dumb and like whatever. I'm like, I don't get it. I don't know what the hype's about. But it's like basically The Sims, but on a desert island.
Yeah.
So now I'm obsessed with bells and decorating my island. It's very dumb. I've joined a Facebook group to like learn when I should sell my turnips. It's
really, that's great. When should you sell your turnips for those?
Well, when somebody is selling it for $500 a turnip. I mean,
okay,
you just gotta fly to somebody else's island.
The demand and the supply.
It's the stock exchange. You win some, you lose some. But I bought like 400 turnips, so I better turn these things around.
You gotta turn up.
Yeah. Exactly. I better turn up. Yeah, I don't know. So I've been trying to think about some things to kind of, it's just social media and the internet is going strong. It's something that was coming in the last like 5 or 6 years. Well, really probably the last 10, but I just want to say 5 or 6 to make myself feel better. Think about all the current quote unquote influencers. And just like, not that they don't have skill. I'm not trying to hate on anybody by any means, because they obviously do. They're smart enough to get on the internet, or at least like the difference between you and me and somebody who has 1 million followers is they're filming themselves and putting it on the internet. Yeah. And you and I could talk about.
There are a couple people where you're like, wow, what they're doing is amazing. And like, I could never do that. But there's also a lot that's like, okay, come on.
Yeah, you're just like, I see what's happening here. Why I can yell at a camera too. Or, you know what I mean? I can make up a story about the time. Actually, not even make up. I can tell you an insane story. Yeah, so I don't know. I think I've just been trying to like motivate myself in that way. My brother, who used to do UCB2, we did one show. Yeah, Thor. Before I left, we had our duo, our improv team was called Drapers on Ice.
I love that.
So we would do 2 prov, and it's actually really fun. Since he's basically he's living here, quarantined here too. We brought the band back, and we did a little TikTok. Like his whole thing is movie trailers right now, but like for movies that don't exist. Jumping on not necessarily the trends, but some of the trends. Like I can't do all those TikTok dances, but I'll try.
Yeah, no, that's where the humor is. Maybe you're not able, but you give it a go. It's an interesting thing. I've actually been talking about what you brought up a lot, like because the regular comedy and entertainment, as you and I typically know it,
Mm-hmm.
is at least temporarily gone. And
Yes.
in my opinion, it's going to be slow, or like the industry will contract at least a little bit when/if it comes back.
Yeah.
The like focus on social media has never been greater, and it's already like, I thought it had peaked, and I'm not
Yeah.
even like, it went even higher during all of this. And it's one of those interesting questions where, like, for years I have been the person that's like, dude, that stuff isn't for me, like it's all
Mm-hmm.
kind of a joke, and like, it'd be great to be, have a couple million followers and, like, I don't know, like be sponsored or whatever, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like, I want to make a real audience, like live laugh, and
Yeah.
I want to make something that takes a lot of effort and time. Not that all social media posts don't have that, but you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But now it's like, I think I got, I've been asking myself, like, am I just delaying the inevitable now? Where it's like, do I need to just embrace this for what it is?
Yeah.
And I think, at least in some part, the answer is yes, I need to. And I need to be less of a Luddite or a Luddite, whatever the term is, and
Yeah.
embrace technology more.
I think, I mean, I totally agree with you. I've always had a pretty not like love hate. I like it. I'm always, but then I also am a person who will then not post for 3 weeks, because why not?
Yeah, you went on my Instagram. I post like once a month.
I love it. It's I mean, whatever. But I think at the same time, it's just becoming so, it's even more important, which sucks in a weird way, but not. It's just like, whatever, just do it,
Yeah.
because the more you fight it and the more you try to, like, you think you're going to get into the system some other way, like if that is the window or the door, and you get to kind of you can control the type of content you actually want to put into the world, then why are you know what I mean, like, why are you trying to create a door through a wall that isn't actually there, that's like a brick
Ooh.
wall, you know what I mean? Voiceover, did you end up doing any?
Yeah,
What do you want to do with it, or what's happening?
I mean, you and I talked, I'd say, like roughly a year ago almost, when I was
Mhm.
really interested in getting into it.
Yeah.
So I took a couple classes,
Yes.
and I think I took like 2. And what I found was a lot of what they were telling me was like stuff that, like, 1 or 2 of the like 8 classes was helpful. And then I was like, all right, I'm paying a lot of money to just
Mhm.
not like be told things that, 1, I already know,
Yeah.
2, I could look up online, and 3, you and I have already covered in improv and some
Mhm.
other acting training that we have.
Yeah.
Not saying I'm an expert by any means,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
what I
yeah.
basically was like, I just need to like do it. So I just, I spent like a month just kind of like making a commercial and an animation voice reel, and I
Yeah.
did that. Just like, I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna just do it, and
Yeah.
we'll see what that leads to. And I don't have a voice rep or anything.
Mhm.
And what I've learned is, I didn't even know the voice acting industry is potentially even more competitive than
Mhm.
the acting industry, because in addition to being actors, like, most regular actors also try and be voice actors, but
Yeah.
there are some voice actors that just want to be voice actors. So you get like people who are trying to like double dip. So there's just a
Yes.
ton of saturation. So the short answer is, I really haven't done anything other than like some fun projects with friends.
Yeah.
I would love to do more, but like, I think my general goal is like, I kind of need to pick regular acting and comedy or the other, and
Yeah.
like be really good at that. And
Mhm.
for now, if something happens and I get like a decent voice rep or like actual work, I'll do it. But I don't think that's coming anytime soon. So, you know,
Yeah, I
yeah,
feel you. Well,
yeah,
I mean, it is so true, because it's like one of those, you look at it, I don't know, two sides of the coin, where people are like, it's not that hard, but then it's also incredibly hard. And it really
yeah,
depends,
really
even
hard.
with voiceover, like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to do animation, or are you just trying to do some commercials? And it's
Yeah,
kind of the same with acting, where the commercials are what makes you the money, so that you can go off and do
yeah,
the movies or the TV shows or the whatever. And same thing with the animation or the anime, because
yeah.
unfortunately anime doesn't even really pay that well.
I didn't know
Uh,
that.
yeah, depending on what you're trying to do, and it's very fast.
Do you do any what is it, ADR,
I've
or
done
looping or whatever?
I have done ADR. I actually was on a in a I don't know, a movie that went to like one of those like horror film festivals
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever, like long time ago. And I did I did a bunch of the background voices on the in the party. And then
Nice.
I also ended up having to like dub some of our own stuff over again, which is really funny, is trying to match your own lips and make sure that you're actually saying the words you said that day. Because you're
Oh,
like,
that's cool.
yeah, I don't know if that's actually necessarily ADR. I think it is.
I don't know.
But then,
That's something I've heard about as well. That's like people are like, "Oh yeah, that pays well," and it's something that
yeah,
I've heard at like UCB and some other places. I'd never known about it until recently.
yeah, trying to be like the rabble too, like just literally being the background noise of just
Yeah,
people
like
being like,
yeah,
"Oh my god, I'm at the party. Oh, it's so
yeah,
fun."
exactly.
Just all that randomness.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know, I feel very similar. I mean, I do love a good class, but then you do hit a point where you're just like, this is too much.
yeah,
It becomes very expensive. We have people kind of this since it's called Adults Talking Anime Plus. This is the plus portion where
yeah,
people just kind of whatever you're into. A lot of
yeah,
times, though, it's the acting advice and the voiceover advice, especially coming from two people who live in California who are out there actually like hitting the pavement trying to do it.
yeah.
If you had any advice to give somebody who is just about to, who's going to be like, you know what, when this is all over, I'm moving to California, what would you say to them?
Well, what I'd say is, one, great, that's awesome. But like, no, seriously, like, good for you. I think you, I think you have to. I would say you have to like. It sounds so silly, and especially you've heard it a million times, and it's like, who am I to give you advice? But what I would say is, in the like small wins that I've had,
Hmm.
just like committing fully to whatever it is always the best tactic. And what I mean by that is like if I'm gonna do like if I want to do voiceover, I've
Hmm.
realized now like I don't think it's a great use of my time and money to like say I want to do that and like half do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's a much better use of my time if I'm like, all right, taking these two classes, I'll have a voice reel by this date.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna hit
Yeah.
like these agents and like I'm gonna fucking do it.
Hmm.
Um, and if I don't, like I'll double down or whatever. Have a plan. And then the other thing is like, yeah, I think getting specific will help when you're starting.
Yeah.
So I don't know about you, but like when sometimes I'll spend a couple months where I'm like, I was doing like 7 different things and I was busy,
Yeah.
but I wasn't productive. And I think there's a huge difference between being busy and productive. Like some of the most productive stuff I've done is where I'm like, I have this, like I want a main stage show at UCB. And like,
Yeah.
rather than doing like 100 different things that don't really lead to anything major, I just do one thing well, and eventually it works. So
Yes.
I think I get specific, be consistent, and like just don't conflate busyness with productivity. Focus on what matters.
Yeah, that's so smart. I mean, I 100% agree with you on the busyness versus productivity. Like, is this a productive use of your time? Because, I definitely fell into that trap too, where I was doing a lot of things. Like, I'm like, yeah, I feel busy, and I scheduled a lot of things that are like that feel like I'm doing something, but these are things that I think they trick you into thinking like you have more progress than you actually do.
Totally,
And you're
totally.
just like, "Oh, this is actually not productive. This is
And that
actually
doesn't mean
not helping me."
yeah, and that doesn't mean you shouldn't schedule a ton of things to do. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, you got to prioritize what's
Yeah.
important,
Yeah.
right?
I love that. That's wonderful advice.
And that's another thing, actually. Sorry, I don't mean to go long, but that's like another thing. A ton of like UCB and Groundlings and some of the theaters that I like spent a lot of time at pre-COVID. I
Yeah.
feel bad because like I have an affinity for them, but
Mhm.
right now they're offering like more classes than ever online,
Yeah.
and I'm not taking any of them
No.
personally. Like I spend all my day doing what we're doing now,
Yeah.
but for work. And it's like I've been doing that for 2 years now, and I'm like
Yeah.
I learn visually like being in person, and
Mhm.
I also spend like 8 hours a day just being online on my computer doing virtual chats.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily want to do these classes, and it seems bad, but my point is I had to make a decision like when COVID was starting. I was like, am I going to spend another $400 to $500 taking an online class?
Mhm.
Which at the end of the day, as bad as it sounds, it's like these theaters are hurting, and
Yeah.
they want to offer classes that will give people something to purchase,
Yeah.
and it's all good intentions. But at the end
Mhm.
of the day, it's like I don't think that's a productive use of my time, and I might as well save my money while COVID's going on, and then do something more worthwhile when it's over.
I 100 well, here's my thing. I just don't think you're gonna learn improv from the computer. Like, you're just not, because even if you and I were to try to improv a scene right now, great. It might be whatever. It'd be weird because we're the only two people
No
here.
audience. It's like
And
a clubhouse show. No one's ever there.
exactly. There'd be like no feedback. Sure, it could be something that we did, but who cares? And I don't know. Again, I haven't sat in any of these classes, and I'm not saying for you who lives maybe in Idaho or something, and it's just not, you're not going to be in Los Angeles or New York to take a class like this in person. I don't think it's a bad idea. I just don't think you should spend $400 or $500 on an online class that you're just not going to get the same thing unless you're in person. Now, I do think there are some classes that you could possibly, like, there are a couple of voiceover classes I started looking at a little bit, just
Yeah.
because I feel like I spend a lot of time like doing what I like to call research, but until this pays me, I
Yeah.
guess
Yeah.
it's nothing.
Exactly. Same way.
But I think some of that could be beneficial because they're just hearing your voice over a mic quality, like as if you were in a
Yeah.
booth.
Totally.
So I think
Totally.
I think there are some classes that definitely could be helpful, and there are others that are just unfortunate, just money grabs. And you just have to be really aware of, like, what are you trying to do? And like, what is the goal? Like,
Same page, Inga. I totally feel.
that's why we get along so well, Matt.
Yes, it is. Yes, it's been too long.
Well, Matt, we are coming to a close on this podcast, and I've had such a blast talking to you, and we've had such a variation of conversation. Now I want to try something.
Okay.
I don't know if it's going to work.
Okay. What do you want to try?
And we are going to see. I was hoping that maybe I could get you to improvise maybe a little bit of a rap
Okay.
about maybe if you can use adults talking anime. That's your
Adult
suggestion.
talking anime.
If you can use that as a suggestion, let's
Okay.
see if this works.
Do you want me to play music on my phone like
Let's
from
give it
here?
let's give it a try. Let's see if it's hopefully it'll sound fine.
Here we go. Okay, this is Dr. Dre beat. Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm on the mic. I'm gonna take you to task as I do this motherfucking podcast with Inga. You know she's the best. She helps me work on myself. I invest in myself, and now I am rapping. The audience that listening, yeah, they're clapping. Yeah, you know what they say. The best podcast in the world is adults talking anime. We'll stop there.
It.
Can you hear it? It's like very hard to hear you and it.
Well, I wasn't speaking, so you
Okay.
didn't have to hear me. Oh, Matt, I loved it. That was amazing.
You might have to burn whatever that was.
Thank you for doing that. So, as we're coming to an end of the episode, I just want you to tell everybody who's been listening where they can find you on the internet. If you got a website, shout yourself out.
Sure. Unfortunately, because of what we talked about, I don't have much of a presence online until recently. But I'm doing this new thing on Instagram. It's really funny, and I'm gonna be posting a bunch more stuff over like once or twice a week. So follow me at Matt Linton 11. Someone took my name, and I just never changed it, and I'm not gonna change my handle. Yeah, so I'm the 11th best Matt Linton, but Matt Linton 11. That's 2 T's. It's like Clinton without the C.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to put that in the show notes down below so people can check that out. Matt, you've been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for doing this with me and giving me your time.
I miss you, Inga. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. And I guess we'll close this thing. And I guess that's it. All right, you guys, you've been listening to Adults Talking Anime Plus, and we'll talk to you when we talk to you. Bye.
Bye.